even in the night when I cannot see. I know you're by my side, and I will be just fine. Oh God, you're always good to me. I wanna say thank you, I will live my life to praise you, and lift you high. Every night and day I'll follow in your ways. I wanna say thank you, I wanna say thank you, God. Every breath that I take you give to me. Every brand new day is a blessing. I know you're by my side, and I will be just fine. Oh God, you're always good to me. I wanna say thank you, I will live my life to praise you, and lift you high. Every night and day I'll follow in your ways. I wanna say thank you, I wanna say thank you, God. I wanna say thank you for mercy and kindness, for grace that is endless, love and forgiveness. I wanna say thank you for mercy and kindness, for grace that is endless, love and forgiveness. I wanna say thank you, I will live my life to praise you, and lift you high. Every night and day I'll follow in your ways. I wanna say thank you, I wanna say thank you, God. I wanna say thank you, God. I wanna say thank you, God.
No, just let me sleep a little longer. Yeah, but I'm just... Oh man, I can't sleep right now. I have to tell you about a really important part of the big God story. It's about the Sabbath. Does anybody know what the Sabbath is? Yeah, it's a day of rest. And when I was thinking about that day of rest, I just got so peaceful and calm that I just was taking a nap. Sorry about that. Let's talk about the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest. In fact, the Bible says that God is Lord of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest, and it's this wonderful thing that God gave His people. Do you know where in the Bible we first hear about the Sabbath? That's right, all the way back in Genesis during creation. So how many days does it take for God to create the world? That's right, 6 days. And then on the seventh day, what does He do? Yeah, He rests. He takes a Sabbath. He calls it holy, which means to be set apart. Now, let me ask you a question. Was God tired? Was He so just exhausted from making the trees and the mountains and people that He needed to take a rest? No, He's God. He doesn't need to sleep. But He wanted to come and dwell with His people, and He wanted to show His people how to rest, how to enjoy Him, and how to be in right relationship with Him, where we can depend upon Him and trust Him for everything. Now, the Sabbath is so important to God that He made it one of His 10 commandments. For that reason, the Israelite people really saw that the Sabbath was so important, but there were some religious leaders called the Pharisees, and they added rules upon rules because they got into all these arguments about what is work. So if we're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, we're supposed to rest, well then what is work? And so they started to pile on all these little rules about what work is and what work isn't. So they started to pile on all these rules about what work is and what work isn't and what you can't do on the Sabbath, because they were all about following the rules.
Things not to do on the Sabbath. No working, no digging, no watering the lilies, no skipping, hopping, and or jumping, no excessive chewing, no working.
All of these rules started to get really complicated, which was not God's goal at all for the Sabbath. So one day, we read about this in Matthew chapter 12. Jesus gets into an argument with these religious leaders about working and resting on the Sabbath. So in Matthew 12, Jesus and his disciples were just walking along and they passed a grain field, so they started picking some of the grain and eating it. Well, the Pharisees believed that picking grain like this on a Sabbath was against the Sabbath law, but they weren't breaking any rules. They just wanted a snack. So in Matthew 12, 3-4, Jesus responds to them by telling them a story they already knew about King David from the Old Testament, who was so hungry, he and his men were so hungry that he ate some of the bread that was normally set aside for only the high priests to eat. But Jesus' point was that God cared more about David being hungry than him following that rule at that moment. After Jesus told this story, he went into the synagogue, which was the place where people would teach and learn about God and the Bible. And Jesus saw a man with a withered hand. Now, the religious leaders, they followed Jesus because they wanted to see what he was going to do, because they wanted to trap him and accuse him of breaking all of their rules about the Sabbath. They believed that if Jesus was going to heal this guy, he would be breaking the rules because healing was working on the Sabbath. Well, Jesus was way more concerned about this man and his health than breaking the religious leaders' rules. So he told this man to stretch out his hand, and it was healed. Well, the Pharisees didn't like that. But Jesus looked at them and he said, "It's lawful to do good on the Sabbath." And then he said that he is Lord of the Sabbath, that he is in charge of what happens on the Sabbath. The Pharisees were trying to be perfect. But God's not asking us to be perfect. He's asking us to trust him. And if Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath, then he wants us to trust him by resting in him and trusting in him and believing that he's going to take care of all of our needs. And a way that we can do that is by taking times throughout our day or our week or our month to rest and to worship him and to trust in him and believe that he is going to take care of everything.